Well, hello, everybody, and thank you for joining us today. I'm excited to kick off this webinar. We have many of you already on, more joining as we speak, but we're going to go ahead and get started. My name is Ryan Hutchings, and I'm the General Manager here at Escapia. We have a lot of information to share with you today, so I'm excited about that. Our goal, as usual with these webinars, is to keep you informed on not only what's new in Escapia, but what you can do to get the most out of the software. So as we go through today, feel free to take notes, get as much information you can, and as usual, keep an eye out for some great tips with these tools and features that we're releasing along the way. Before we get today's agenda, though, let's cover some quick housekeeping for the webinar. First and foremost, you can see there at the bottom of your screen in the webinar, there's a chat button. You can get technical help if you need it from our moderators. Use this chat button for technical help. It's not a chat screen that everybody can see. It's just between you and our moderators here. But if you need something, you can do that. There are a couple of differences in the webinar today as well versus the past. There's no Q&A button feature, as you can see at the bottom. We've utilized that before. Feedback from our previous webinars when we've done this before was that you wanted more time for answering the questions that you submit or that you have. So we'll talk about that here in just 1 second. So we've changed it up a little bit to make sure we allow for more time for Q&A. Also to note, we're also recording this webinar. We'll share the recording with you within the next couple of days after this finishes. We know that's always important for those that A, couldn't attend, and B, to share with team members, employees, and coworkers. Okay, so let's get on to what we're actually going to cover today because we got a lot. As you can see here, we want to go over, like we normally do, go over what we're working on and what's coming. So let's get into that. As we do this, we have what's new and what's coming soon after we do an overview. We're going to start with Jessica and an overview here of what we're working on and what you can expect to see. This is always the biggest asked question from our customers is, I just want to know what's coming and what you guys are doing and what you're working on so I know what to expect. So we're going to start at that level. Then as we drill down, you'll see what's new and what's coming soon. We're going to get into these specific bullet points. We have communications. There's always a lot going in there. In our communications hub, we'll get into that. We're going to talk about upcoming housekeeping and mobile tools. Big request for a long time, and we're finally attacking that within Escaping and be updating that. Hospitality tools are going to be talked about. We're going to talk about the distribution and updates there. We know that's always important. Distribution to various channels. And then we're also going to talk about reporting. It's been a topic for a while, and I'm glad that we continue to have this discussion and talk about where we're at with that. After we're finished there, we've added more time on this webinar for Q&A based off of, like I said, the previous feedback when we've done this before. So what we do is we look forward to addressing what's on top of mind for many of you. We thank those of you that pre-submitted questions and those that who also upvoted those questions. We've used those questions to utilize the time for the Q&A. This is a little bit different of a format because we'll do Q&A. I will end the session with some, after we do Q&A, I'll end the session with some additional comments. So I do want you to make sure you stay through this entire time and get the most out of it by not only staying through the question and answers, which I think will be important, but the closing remarks will bring up a few other things that you want to know about. That's our agenda for today. I'm excited about that. And so with that, it gives me great pleasure to welcome Jessica here, our leader of product, to go through the product roadmap overview with you.
Thanks, Ryan. And hi, everyone. I've gotten to meet so many of you from in person at Explore Escapia User Day and on calls. But for those of you who I haven't had the pleasure of meeting yet, my name is Jessica Odiemi, and I'm the Director of Product here at Escapia. So I started last May, and I have been fast at work getting up to speed on all of your needs, all of your feedback. And I've been working closely with the rest of the product team to get us focused on developing the features that you've let us know will actually move the needle for your business. We're committed to continuing to provide the best software for professional property managers, and I'm really excited to share more about the momentum that we have built and the progress that we've made since last year. So you may have joined us in person or seen a recording, but just in case you missed it, these are the major areas of focus that I presented at our last Escapia User Day late last year. These core focus areas are a direct result of the input from you, our customers. Although we can't do every single thing at once, we are committed to moving with speed and being intentional so that we give you the most value out of Escapia as quickly as possible. So we dug into the data and broke it down even further to understand which areas get requested more than others, which will bring the most value to your business and bottom line, which ones we can deliver on really quickly, and which ones may take a little bit more complexity and a little bit more feedback from you. And this is how we arrived at this roadmap that you see in front of you. So the 4 bolded areas on top are the ones that we have been hard at work and have jumped into right away. And I'm really excited today to share the progress that we've made in each of these areas over the last few months and tell you a little bit more about what's coming. So I'm joined by the rest of our product team, our product leads, to walk you through what's new, what features are coming soon. So Caitlin is going to start us off and cover communications updates. Then Jenna will take us through 2 sections, one on mobile housekeeping tools and one on guest hospitality. And then Bridget's going to take us through some distribution updates, and then I'll hop back on to walk us through some new reporting functionality coming soon. And with that, I will turn it over to Caitlin to kick us off with communications updates.
Thanks, Jess. Hi, friends. For those of you that I have met before or have worked with over many years, and then hello to any new faces. So I'm Caitlin Mennett. I am one of the product managers on Escapia, as Jess said, and we're going to talk about communications. So we've talked about communications before, and it continues to be a priority. Hopefully, many of you have been in Communications Hub and have started to see some of the new things that are happening there. But the reason we're tackling communications is because our goal is to centralize your communications in one place. We know it's important to have timely guest communications and to be able to reach your travelers when they want to be reached and in the way you need to reach them. So you've seen those 2-way text message efforts showing up into Communications Hub inbox. And then as we work into the future, we know a lot of your communications are not just external to travelers, but it's also internal to your staff. So we're working on some new staff communication tools to allow you to seamlessly communicate about a given reservation or perhaps an inquiry between your staff within inbox. So what we're going to do is let's take a look at some of the things we've released recently. So this, many of you have maybe seen, and when we created inbox, every reservation gets a conversation. So every single reservation created, no matter where it comes from, will get a conversation within the inbox for a traveler reservation. But it was updating that count. So someone would come into the inbox and they would see that it had, 2,000 inbox conversations. Well, if it's just a reservation being made, you might have your communication automatically set to go out, and there's really no action to be taken there. So we've updated this number to only show communications that need action. So that's going to be an inbound inquiry. That could be a response from an SMS you sent out. It could be a response from an email you sent out to a traveler. Or a question perhaps from an inquiry on Vrbo. So anything that's inbound that then requires action from somebody on your property will then increase that number count. So this way, you know what you need to do when you need to do it, and not just a giant number. The next thing is, as we release this 2-way messaging, right? A lot of people would call into support or send me a note and say, hey, what's my email address? What number are they going to be seeing these messages from me? So this we've added into the inbox, and you'll be able to see your contact information. So that is going to be the email that's being sent out, that it's from. The sender name is still updated in settings, and then that phone number for the SMS. So those will both now show within the inbox. Next up, we have seen that when you're text messaging, now that you can text message with a traveler, it wasn't updating in real time, right? You might have to go and reload Communications Hub. It just wasn't really functioning like you would want an inbox to function. So within the past few weeks, we have released automatic updates. So the Communications Hub inbox constantly refreshes. That way, if a new message comes in, you're here texting with a traveler and they're like, oh no, I'm locked out. You're able to come back in, respond quickly, and not have to leave Communications Hub to make sure that you see an update or something new come in, as well as a new reservation created. So this should make it a lot easier to have those seamless conversations with travelers. Speaking of that, having those great conversations, you can now schedule both text message templates and emails. So with the emails, you're able to go in and have those text messaging templates, have your email templates, really adjust your workflow or your communication flow to your traveler to have the optimal communication flow based on method of how you think they'd want to be reached. So maybe day of arrival, right before check-in, you're going to want to remind them of some parking information, Wi-Fi code. That would be great in a text message. But some of that more detailed, weighty information that you want to get out earlier, you could then send in an email, and you can schedule those templates right in Communications Hub and then see when they send out. You're also able to now add on pictures within multi-quote. So we created multi-quote a while back, talked to you guys, you said, hey, we can't just send one quote. We really need to send many quotes. And you're able to do that from the inbox. You select the multi-quote, you can select the traveler that you're going to send it out to. And then you can write a quick note. We talked to some of you and they're like, oh my gosh, I have to tell people that the properties I'm quoting them are all-wheel drive. If I don't tell them that, they can't book that property. It could be a big disaster. They won't even be able to get there. So now you can write a quick message. It could be, thanks, great to talk to you. It could be, hey, all of these units, you must have an all-wheel drive vehicle to access them. See the quote you're sending. And then when it sends to the traveler, it will not only show a thumbnail of the property to give you a quick reference of what that is, but it will also have a link to the property if you have those set up within your unit details. So we've talked about a lot of fun things in Communications Hub, but now my favorite part is talking about what is coming soon. So coming soon, as you've used Communications Hub, you have realized that, hey, remember, there's so many of us using Communications Hub, and we want to be able to add who is working on a conversation. Maybe it's a lead that somebody is going to follow up with that traveler, and you don't want multiple people following up with the traveler. So the ability to tag conversations within the Communications Hub inbox. So you'll be able to go in, search for a user that has access to Communications Hub inbox, and then add them to that conversation. The other portion we'll be adding is notes. So notes you'll see even sooner than the tagging. But the notes, as we talk to you, you're saying, hey, you know what? Most of our communication revolves around, it might be internal staff communication, but it's around a reservation or a quote or something that we already had a conversation in the inbox for. So now we're adding the ability to add notes to the inbox. So it will be a separate section so that you shouldn't risk mixing up by typing to the traveler something that maybe you don't want to share with them. You will have to go into a separate side panel to add that note. And then in that side panel, when somebody from your staff adds a note, it will be, first of all, they can't overwrite it, right? Nobody can go in and delete that note, which I know has been a common concern. And it will have their name and the timestamp of when that note was added. So this will be available to any conversation that's in Communications Hub. You'll be able to add those new notes within the inbox. Also coming up very, very soon, so this is all like short term, next few months or even few weeks for some of these, is Airbnb rental agreements. So those of you that distribute to Airbnb through some of our third parties, perhaps Escapia Connect or others, the rental agreements have been pretty clunky as they've taken away the email. So they'll get it It might pass through into the Airbnb portal, but it's very hard for a traveler to access and sign your rental agreement. And we know that's really important to you. However, since Airbnb does give us phone numbers for those customers, we are able to send now an Adobe link. So for those Airbnb travel reservations that come in from a third party that are from Airbnb, we will automatically be sending them, instead of an email, we will be sending an SMS rental agreement. So here on the screen, you can see in the rental agreements list, you'll see here that it was sent as an SMS and it shows the phone number we sent it to. Then you'll see how that link comes through on your mobile device. And then they're able to open it from their mobile device and sign it. Right now, this will be just going out for Airbnb, but it will help hopefully alleviate that issue we've been having and then allow you to get those rental agreements out to the customers and signed in a timely fashion. So after we get those things delivered to you, as well as that tagging that I talked about in the notes, we're still working on other communication features that are very important. So one is, once you tag a conversation in inbox, how do you find it? So we're going to be adding filtering and sorting to the inbox. You can quickly find what you're looking for in a conversation. And then the notes section that we spoke about, we're going to be working to expand across other parts of Escapia. So right now, when notes first comes out, it's just going to be in the inbox. But as we work to pull that out into other parts, we'll be able to show that in the reservation, perhaps in housekeeping. So other places, maintenance, you're going to want to see those notes. We're going to work on bringing notes through to other parts of Escapia. And lastly, our team has been working on notifications. Notifications has been a long time request from Escapia about, hey, how do I know when this happens? How do I know when I get a new message in Communications Hub and I have an actionable message? How do I know, how does a housekeeper know they have an assignment, right? How do I set up notifications within Escapia? So you'll see this new notifications page right here, and it's going to be an event-based notification. So you'll be able to pick the event that you want the notification on. You'll select the roles that this notification will go to. And then how do you want it? Do you want it as a text message, an email? We're also creating a page where you'll be able to see all of the notifications get received for a given Escapia user. So it'll be at a very personalized level. And then that message of what that template is. And we'll be working on some merge tags and ways to get more information in there. But our very first communication or notification will be in housekeeping. And Jenna's going to talk to you a little bit about that in a minute. But first, a few reminders of some things we talked about today and things you can do now for Communications Hub. So definitely get in there, create those templates, start using your SMS templates, your email templates for the two-way SMS. US customers should have two-way SMS today. Australia customers will start to see that being turned on for them over the next few weeks. And then we'll start working further on other countries from there. Next, then incorporate staff communications as we see them. Start to think of different ways that maybe that would work into your workflow and maybe put it into your standard operating procedures for your front office of how you could utilize that notes function. And then with the rental agreements, as we're starting to send those rental agreements from Adobe, we want to make sure that when the traveler receives them, it looks like what they want to receive and that they understand what it is. So it might be, because it's a little disjointed, right? And a little bit to make your reservation on Airbnb and then to a few minutes later get a SMS link from Adobe. So perhaps after that reservation is created, set up an automated text message template to go out to the traveler, thanking them for their booking, saying, thank you for booking these dates with Airbnb for this unit. We're so excited. Be on the lookout for a rental agreement link to sign for your reservation in the next hour. Then you could set your rental agreement to go out an hour later, and then they would receive that link then. So something to think about as you're kind of working on that overall communication strategy, like what's the best way to make that happen? And then in your Adobe account, one last thing is make sure to go in and check your sender name. You want it to show your business name, not your personal name of perhaps the property manager that set up the account to begin with. but you really want to make sure it shows your company name so it comes through cleanly when the text message is sent. And now I am going to pass it to Jenna to talk about some really exciting housekeeping tools.
Thank you so much, Caitlin. It was awesome to hear of all the great work going on in the communications hub. And one thing Caitlin did mention that is very tied in well to our housekeeping mobile tools are notifications, which is one of the many things you have to look forward to in this space. We know that in order for your housekeeping staff to do a successful job, they really need access to proper mobile tools to manage their tasks on the go and ultimately communicate that unit readiness back to you all so you know when your next guest can check into a properly cleaned unit. As of today, Escapia does offer some of those fundamental features that are necessary to automate your housekeeping workflow. Think creating automated schedules and task creation or assigning those tasks to a specified housekeeper for a given unit. However, the one thing we have heard over and over from all of you is that you need more robust mobile tools for housekeeping as well as other areas of Escapia to allow your workers to manage their tasks on the go, complete them, and travel unit to unit. In fact, we know that 70% of your housekeepers are opting to use a mobile device when managing tasks on their housekeeping dashboard today. Simultaneously, due to the fact that Escapia does have some feature gaps in our housekeeping set, about 30% of you are choosing to pay for one of our partners, aka having to manage both a third party as well as Escapia to help fulfill those feature gaps. This is exactly why we have prioritized working on an end-to-end task management system that will be specifically optimized for a mobile device. In this future state, your staff will be able to receive notifications when a task is assigned to them. They'll be able to upload a photo to communicate that they completed that cleaning up to your agency standards and much more. Our ultimate goal in working on housekeeping tools is to bring more functionality into Escapia to provide you with the option to utilize Escapia for housekeeping rather than having to manage two systems. Let's take a look at some of the work we currently have in progress for housekeeping. The first part of housekeeping we plan to deliver in the next few months, as Caitlin alluded to, is a notification for housekeepers. The first notification we'll start with is notifying a housekeeper via text or email, whatever you set up in your settings, when a task is due within the next 24 hours. Within that notification they receive via text or email, they'll also have a link that will take them directly to our new and improved mobile-first task management screen. You can see a picture of that screen here in the second image, where it's a task summary of everything they have for a given day. From that screen, they can then drill into a task to review notes that were previously provided for that task or that booking, and view images of the unit as well as other important unit details. The features here are very much the start of housekeeping work. Let's look into some other things we envision for this year in housekeeping. Some other features we plan to release later this year are task photos and additional notification types. We've heard from you that task photos are really essential in ensuring accountability of a unit being clean to your standards, and they're also a great way for you to upload a photo as a reference for your staff. This is exactly why we'll be adding the ability to upload photos to a specific task within the housekeeping dashboard. We'll also be working on those other event-driven notification types Caitlin talked about. Really, our goal here is to help you optimize your housekeeping workflow and your check-in workflow. Two of those notifications we'll focus on first are one, implementing notifications for your housekeeper for when a guest checks out. Think if a guest checks out early, that gives your housekeeper extra time to arrive there, clean it, and possibly prepare it for an early check-in for the next guest. We'll also be working on a notification for all of you or any other role types you want to receive a notification when a unit is marked clean. That way, again, if that unit's marked clean prior to that check-in time, you may be able to make a guest stay by allowing them to check in a couple hours early. Again, this is just the start of what we've been digging into for housekeeping, as well as all of mobile tools. We really look forward to continuing to work in the mobile space and releasing more features in 2024. With that, I'm going to shift gears to discuss another area of work we recently kicked off, and that is in the realm of hospitality tools. Specifically, we are focusing on bringing guidebooks for all of your guests into Escapia. As of today, we currently do not offer a solution in Escapia where you can configure all of the content and a comprehensive guide that you would want to display to your guests. And these guides are often provided in either a PDF format or even a digital site format where they have a link to an app or a mobile-friendly site. And within these guides, a lot of our property managers like to include pre-arrival information, where to park upon arrival, how to access the pool or find how to use the grill, checkout information, and much more. Given that Escapia doesn't offer a solution for this today, the majority of you probably fall into one of these three buckets. The first being that you use Glad to Have You software. And for those of you who do use Glad, you know it can be a little cumbersome and time-consuming to set up your templates, organize them into different categories, prioritize them by providing a numeric value to specify the order of content, and much more. You're doing this across many screens. It can take quite some time. Not to mention you're managing two systems, Escapia as well as Glad to Have You. The same goes for our second bucket, which is our folks opting to pay for an Escapia partner, managing two systems, paying for two systems, and so forth. Then there's our third bucket, who do not use either of the two solutions listed above and have an awesome opportunity to start consolidating all of their guest stay information into one place to provide their guests with a better experience. And not only that, but reduce the amount of questions coming your way. A lot of redundant questions may come towards you through Comms Hub, and this is a great way to consolidate answers to all of those questions in one convenient location, aka getting more time back for you and your team to focus on bigger business priorities. By bringing these hospitality tools into Escapia, we hope to reduce the overall time your team is spending on managing multiple systems and help you provide your guests with the very best experience. You all will have the ability to configure and customize this content for your guests in an efficient way, and then you'll be able to provide that content in either a PDF format or via a digital link. And when using this link, your guests will be directed to a mobile-friendly site with no download necessary, which we know is a huge hurdle for some of the guests accessing guides today from Glad to Have You. The first part of the hospitality tools we are tackling is this configuration screen, which is where you can get creative with crafting all of the content you want to display in your guest's guidebook. We know that there's a lot of content you may want to include in these guidebooks, which is why we really wanted to streamline the configuration process as much as possible. Rather than navigating across several different screens as our Glad users do, you'll be able to draft your content here via our templates, structure the content into different categories and subcategories, and sort the order that you want that content to appear in either the PDF or the site, all in one single screen. Let's walk through an example. So I know that right image might be challenging to see, but let's say you have 27 properties that have garages for your guests to park in. Meanwhile, 73 of your properties only offer street parking. In this case, you might create two different templates with this separate set of instructions, one containing instructions for that street parking, one containing instructions for that garage parking. Once your templates are created, you can then begin to structure your guidebook by dragging and dropping your templates into different categories and subcategories. In this example, a category might be something like My Arrival, where within the section, My Arrival, I might have multiple subcategories. Think parking instructions, lockbox instructions, so on and so forth. Think of all of that as a table of contents for a structured document. Once your entire guidebook is structured, only the categories, subcategories, and templates that apply to the unit that the guest has booked will be pulled into their PDF or guest guide site for them to access after booking. To start, these guidebooks will only be offered as PDFs and be able to be sent manually via Comms Hub. However, this is just the start of what we plan to build out within guidebooks. Other work we have planned in this space is creating a digital version of the guidebook PDF. In the digital guidebook, you'll be able to see everything that's in the PDF, but we'll add on additional digital features, such as being able to add additional guests who can access that site and more. We also really want to reduce the amount of manual work needed from your end, so we'll work on providing an automated setting where you can schedule when your PDF and/or digital version of the guidebook would be sent to your guests by providing you with scheduling options on that configuration screen. We really want to ensure that you have all of the tools necessary to provide your guests with the very best experience with our guides. And we're really excited to kick off hospitality tools and share more later this year. I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to Bridget, who will highlight what's new in distribution.
Awesome. Thanks, Jenna. So here at Escapia, we are always trying to improve our distribution capabilities so that you can leverage the Escapia integrations to better your business. Having seamless integrations and reducing friction with channels you distribute to are key to optimizing your distribution. We're able to do this by building features that, 1, reduce the amount of manual manipulation you have to do on reservations so you don't have to spend time reconciling Escapia with other systems. 2, eliminate duplicate entry of information by increasing listing content alignment between Escapia and other distribution channels so you don't have to enter information in 2 places or worry about how certain fields will translate to other channels. And 3, improve calendar availability parity across channels so you can get more bookings. First up, we have a new feature in the unit editor that will tell you the status of that unit's listing on Vrbo. This was actually just released today, so after this webinar, be sure to go and check it out. You can use this page to keep tabs on your listings and monitor for any unexpected changes to your Vrbo listings. This page will show you the listing link and whether the listing is active or inactive on Vrbo. If the unit is inactive, you will also be able to see the reasons why it's inactive and the course of action to take to get it active again. This information will help you quickly troubleshoot any issues to minimize the downtime of your listing so you don't miss any bookings. This is the first step in enabling you to be first to know if there's an issue with any of your Vrbo listings so you don't have to hear about it from your owners. And we have future enhancements planned to preemptively notify you if there has been a change in the listing status. The next 2 features that will be released in the coming weeks are improvements to Escapia Connect to make the data flow between Escapia and channels like Airbnb and Booking.com more seamless. First, we're releasing an enhancement so the bedroom configurations you have set up in Escapia will map to the bedroom setup in Escapia Connect automatically, so you will no longer have to reconfigure the bedrooms when you distribute a new unit, saving you time and getting rid of the mental load of making sure you're setting up the right configuration for the right unit. And finally, we've heard your frustrations with cancellations from major channels not automatically reflecting in Escapia. So we're finalizing the solution that will sync those canceled reservations from the channel in real time back to Escapia for Escapia Connect reservations. You will no longer have to manually cancel the reservation in Escapia, and your calendar will be updated immediately so it is free to take a new booking, meaning less manual work to track and more bookings for you. And now I will hand it off to Jess to tell us more about what's coming in reporting.
All right, thanks for taking us through that, Bridget. I'm excited to talk through reporting. So if we go to, thank you. We know today that the reporting experience is very fragmented and disjointed within Escapia. We've got reporting tools and information all across Escapia, from the performance dashboard to custom search, individual reports throughout our menu tabs. And we've heard directly, and we've heard you loud and clear, that the effort of having to customize reports by exporting to Excel, combining and manipulating the data to get to an end product that actually works for you is a lot of manual effort. And ultimately, this is costing you precious time that we know you don't have. So we're bringing you a new and simplified reporting experience that lets you filter and customize the data that you need without ever leaving Escapia. We've reached out to many of you, and the overwhelming feedback was that reservations was one of the top reporting areas. So that's exactly where we're starting. So for example, let's say you're looking at reservations data and planning to send a report to one of your owners, but you decide you don't want to send any of your travelers' personal information. You don't want first and last name to appear on the report. So from right within Escapia, you can actually toggle the last name column off so that it doesn't appear in the report at all. And the result is a report that, applying this change, is showing the report that you actually want to see with this column hidden. But what if you need to filter out other data, like certain rows as well? So for example, say you only want to send data for bookings that have actually happened and actually been completed. So you can filter out the canceled reservations and only show bookings where your guests have actually checked out already. You can do this all from within Escapia by applying a filter to the booking status column and selecting only the data that you want to show. And now, as we see here, only the relevant columns and rows of data are visible in the report. This report will be shareable and downloadable, and you can also do things like set default filters just in case you need to come back to this view often. So we're starting with reservations, but we will continue to test and get your feedback and expand all across other areas in Escapia. So how do you get your hands on this? We are nearing completion of development of this, and we're going to be releasing this in beta. So be on the lookout for that beta program announcement within the next month or so. And with that, I will hand it back over to Ryan.
All right. Thank you, Jessica. Actually, thank you, everybody. Jessica, Caitlin, Jenna, and Bridget for those exciting product updates. I think it's important. I heard multiple times, and obviously I know because I'm here, but I hope you heard multiple times, multiple features coming out as we speak today for you to keep dialing in your business and hopefully operating at a higher level. Now let's turn our attention to answering the most popular questions. As I mentioned before, we put the call out before this webinar for pre-submitted questions. We used a tool that allowed you to not only submit, but also upvote and upvote any questions that you thought you for sure wanted us to get to. We closed the tool on Sunday, as the vast majority of you had already registered by that point. So thank you again. Here's a sample of some of the questions that came through in that tool. And you can see there's upvotings. The team will answer your pre-submitted questions in the order of the most to least as far as the votes go. So let's go and get going on jumping right in. We'll go to the first question, which is very relevant given where we ended, but would you develop a reports feature, a custom reports feature? Jessica, you just ended, but why don't you wrap this up real quick? We don't need to talk too much about it.
Yeah, sure. I'm glad that this was asked because it lets us know we're on the right track. So the reporting functionality that we just discussed is tackling exactly that, and we're excited to get it in your hands soon. And I promise this was not a plant question. So
No, it's important, which is why it's on top of our roadmap too. All right, let's keep going. Next question: is there a roadmap item that would allow reports in Escapia to be automatically run with criteria selected and the results automatically emailed to contacts? It's a little bit different flavor.
Yeah, I can take that one. So this is on our radar with the custom reporting functionality. It is something that we are considering for future iterations and hope to be able to release in the future.
Awesome. Next question. When adding rates, why am I required to enter them for a full year? If I sign up a new owner today, why is it necessary to enter rates for January 4/4/24 to 4/4/24? Okay. Jessica, you want to jump in on this rate editor question?
Sure. So the new rates manager is based on nightly rates instead of legacy seasons, which means that a rate has to be populated in order to be booked and sold, which is a little bit of a departure from the old system. So this is a best practice that we've put in place to make sure that your units remain bookable to travelers within the new system.
Exactly. And I will tag on to that. This is one thing that Jessica just said real quick is a best practice. We really encourage even beyond that, but conversion rates increase significantly. You would be surprised how many requests or searches are done for dates out that far, not only on Verbo, but other channels as well as your own website. Okay, next question. Would you consider allowing price strategy adjustment values to be to the 2 decimal places rather than only integer at the present?
Yeah. So we think that the integers allow for a more simplified grid view within the rates manager, but definitely are open to revisiting this at some point in the future if there's an identified need to. So we do have the contact information for submitters. So definitely happy to reach out and follow up on this one just to get more information about this need.
Excellent. When are you planning to release for rates manager that will allow us to charge for extra guests like price rules used to allow us to do?
Yeah. So at the moment, there aren't any plans to build this into Rates Manager, but we can achieve a similar outcome. So charge templates can be used to charge a fee either per person or per person per night. And then you can group this charge with rent and auto apply the fee to your selected units and selected channel partner scopes. If you've got a baseline number of guests typically allowed prior to charging this fee, one of the considerations is to reduce rent and charge a fee per night for all guests. And doing this, we've had people really find success to get to rates that are on par with the previous ones in the old system.
Right. Next, we need the ability to be able to send and receive an SMS message by anyone and keep the same text number we have with track rather than, let's see, number of track rather it's guest or not, whether it's a guest or not.
I'm going to take this one. So
Okay.
I think this is going to be broken into, I see this as 2 questions. So the first one is, looks like you're really wanting to port in your number that you're using right now for text messaging. And I will say that's something we absolutely should look into. We look to roll out text messaging. We wanted to get it in the hands of all of you as quickly as possible. And there are many legal restrictions around being able to have an SMS number that's used by a business. Many of those changed this past summer. So we really have to be specific. And the quickest way to get approved numbers was to do a toll-free number for every Escapia customer. So that's the way we're going forward, or that we started, but it's something definitely to keep in mind. The second portion is, I think, not just with a traveler, but other profiles within Escapia. So I'm guessing that's vendor, housekeeper, other pieces. And it's also something as we look to bring in more conversations, either within notifications or the inbox, it's something that we can explore. It's not something that we have initially on our roadmap today to do in the short term, but definitely something to keep in mind as well.
Right. Next up, how do we add tax to our Airbnb listings, like through Escapia Connect, so it's not incorporated with our rental rate? Bridget.
So this one depends a little bit on what tax eligibility Airbnb determines the unit is, which will be based on your location. So if Airbnb tells you that the unit is ineligible, unfortunately, you will not be able to add taxes. It would only be adding taxes that are going to be incorporated into the rent. If you are one of the other eligibilities, you should be able to add a tax or essentially override the Airbnb tax. But you need to make sure that you have your tax information and your tax numbers input and validated in order for that to happen. Otherwise, it will act similarly to ineligible and it will put it in the rent.
Right, and these are Airbnb specific guidelines, so it's kind of you're at the behest of what they determine you to be at, right?
Right.
Okay, next question I think is you too, Bridget. With Escapia Connect, our rates and lengths of stay be updated on the same day, like I was able to do before, both through Escapia and Airbnb?
So for rates, yes, but for length of stay, that is actually only processed, like that update is only processed once every 24 hours. So that one does take a little bit longer to make it into any other systems. So yeah, so rates you can, length of stay, it's going to be 24 hours, kind of depending on sync times. But the other piece on Escapia Connect in particular, once you see those updates reflected in the system, you can do it's called dynamic sync on the update tab in Airbnb, and that will update the rates or length of stay at an ad hoc instead of waiting for the scheduled update to run.
Okay, that's good. It's a good tip right there for everyone to know. Excellent. Okay, a couple more questions here on the pre-submitted, and then we'll be wrapping up. Do we have the ability to create and send one-off documents outside the rental agreement that can be filled out, for example, golf cart waiver or anything else on that? Jenna?
Yes, you absolutely can. You can use our addendums feature, which is in the same area you configure your rental agreements. And when you're creating your addendums, you can pull in a checkbox. Maybe they will select that to opt into the golf cart. There's an open text box merge tag as well as a signature block merge tag that they can use. And then once you have that created, just apply it to the units that do have golf carts and you should be good to go.
Great. Right. So can we please update the way we get reviews? I won't read all of this, but basically someone's asking, get a text message they get after they say, and then depending on how they rate the review, it either go and get posted automatically and forwarded, or if it's less than stellar, they'd be asked to submit direct feedback, and then you can review it. Kind of a dynamic way of handling depending on the way it's reviewed. Jess, you want to answer this one?
Yeah, I can take this one. So this is really great feedback. I mean, and it brings up
Yeah.
a great point. We know how important reviews are to, making your properties attractive and to traveler conversion. We are thinking about communications holistically, and reviews are a big piece of that. So we will absolutely keep this in mind and keep you updated about the future state of our review functionality. So thanks for that feedback.
Good suggestion on the automated portion. So we'll look at that. All right, we're wrapping up here. Those were kind of the biggest pre-submitted questions. There was a few there that we'll get reach out to more detail. We do have the information of who and what submitted. So there's a couple of them that we need more detail on, and we'll reach out to you directly. But let's wrap up by looking at what else is new in Escapia and or an opportunity for you as we kind of roll down here. First and foremost, as we're always looking at our partner ecosystem, if you haven't noticed, we're always adding to integrated partners. Our newest integrations here, the two of them is one, Jervis Systems, guest access, and smart home device automation, sorry. And that's a new integration. Also, Find Rentals, and this is a direct booking channel focused on helping guests find local property management. So both of those are live and integrated now in the partnership portal. So check that out. and you can utilize these services should you wish. Also, along the same note, coming soon, charge automation. So this one is guest experience software to do contactless check-in, payment automation, and lots more. So we're going to be integrating there. Absolutely connecting home service industry to the vacation rental market. So home services and being able to manage that. And then Quibble, which is a pricing and revenue management with a focus on the revenue management side. So those are also in the works right now. So look out for those if you're interested in any of those in our marketplace. We're excited to add new partners on a regular basis. If you want to know not only about these ones, but also any that we do have in the marketplace, you can always go to escapia.com/integrations. That's where it has the list of all the services and third parties, which again, we fully support, by the way. You can go there, check out all the partners we have integrated with, or email us directly, and our wonderful team will get back to you answering any questions on integrated partners for us. So there's an update on the partner ecosystem. Now, a reminder, first one is how to give us your product feedback, because we always talk about the product and the roadmaps and everything, and then it's how do I give that feedback? We talk about it a lot. So in Escapia, click on the account icon in the upper right, and then select submit feedback. Now, whether it's a new feature request, is something you wish we had, something that you love, or an area that you say, hey, I'm gonna give feedback on something that already exists, our team is eager to hear. That comes into the inbox, our teams review it, we talk about it. That's how these things are produced, to talk to you about what our roadmap is. So we're always looking for that feedback, continue to do so, and it's right there at your fingertips to give us that feedback. And as a reminder, not only is there feedback, but there's also help from us about professional services live training that we now offer. We've offered this for a while now, and if you don't know, if you think your team would benefit from an hour-long private training session with our teams, an Escapia instructor, we offer live training topics on anything like Verbo optimization and listing optimization, rates manager, setting up reservations, service orders, reporting, any of these things that you think either you would benefit from because it's something you haven't done, or even if you've been an Escapia customer for a long time, like many of you have, and these are new features that you just want to stay up to speed on, we're here. These virtual sessions typically charge. We normally charge. However, right now we're offering free training. If you sign up by April 30th, we'll offer you that training for you and or your teams for free. So to get started, you go to escapia.com/training. And there you can just click on the request training and complete the form. Our teams will work out, timing and setting up the first appointment with you. So take advantage of that. We know there's always a lot. We feel it's a vested interest and a win-win when we can train you on the products. Your teams know how to use it, and that's worth it for us to spend that time with you. I'm sure it would be appreciated. And then at any time, speaking of utilizing the website, you can head to escapia.com/new. That's always been there at your fingertips for the latest updates on product releases. So you have customer home and everything in Escapia itself, but if you go to that website URL, we'll aim to communicate any new features to you via email as well. But that page hosts and has all the lists of the things coming out that we've released. So you've got multiple sources, emails, Escapia, and then also this URL that you can go to catch up on the latest and greatest going on with Escapia. And finally, as a reminder, we talked about this, we launched this promotion at last fall, but Verbo loves the quality of inventory that you as Escapia customers provide. We always tout and brag about how good not only the inventory is, but how well it's managed by you as property managers on Escapia. So right now we launched this and said, if you have any inventory or listings that are not currently on Verbo, we encourage you to list it on Verbo because A, it's free to list, and B, if you need to fill gaps and or get more reservations for those owners, you might as well put it on Verbo, and it's not going to cost you anything. So until May 31st, we're actually offering a credit. This is a benefit of being part of the broader Expedia Group ecosystem, is you get $100 per listing credit to your bill on Escapia for every one that you add. That's a per listing basis. So here's how it works. You add more listings on Verbo. A listing qualifies, to be specific, is it wasn't listed or advertised on Verbo in the last 12 months, or maybe never at all. Then you list that as a new listing. To receive your credit, you email us directly, csm@escapia.com. Our wonderful team, Holly and Kirsten, manage that. They're always looking. Tell us what your new listing numbers are. The team will verify that listings are live and set to go. And then once verified, your one-time $100 credit for each of those new listings will be applied to your next billing cycle. It's very simple. It's a great way to get some money back from us, and it benefits everybody. And hopefully your owners and or listings would also receive a big boost from that. And with that, I just wanted to say thank you again. And in closing, I wanted to just recap because we talked a lot about a lot of things today. And as I mentioned, we'll be sharing the recording of everything we talked about this whole session with you soon. But let's recap on some of the big points here. First and foremost, standardize regular communications by using templates for email, rental agreements, and now texting, like Caitlin talked about. Number two is automate your workflows with scheduled templates for email and text. You can use the new multi-quote feature, which you can send that out to your potential travelers with now property photos and a custom message, which will be much appreciated by those travelers looking for options. Setting up rental agreements in Adobe with the proper sender name, and then look out for new features coming, like in communication notifications I was talked about, the notes, a lot about the mobile-friendly housekeeping tools coming, being able to put in your own guest guides, Escapia Connect and distribution updates and enhancements, and then Jess talked about the new reporting functionality to be released over the coming months that will include some of this beta version of that custom reporting that's much awaited for. And finally, recapping those resources that I just talked about. We have the integrations page, we have the training if you want the training, and then you have the new page where you can see any releases that have come out and details on what those releases are. Ooh, take a big breath. I hope that was enough. These webinars we've been doing for a while now. We're going to continue to do these webinars because we get wonderful feedback about how useful they are, and we want to help you be successful. And so our main goal here is how can we help you and keep you up to date and do things that you need to run your business. As usual, we want these webinars to be very useful, and so please help us make them better. Go in, you'll be getting a feedback survey. And as soon as the webinar ends, you'll see it. It's a very short survey. It's easy to fill out. It's a pop-up on your screen. Please take the couple of minutes to fill out that survey. Let us know how this webinar was. Give us feedback. The extra time for Q&A is what we kind of did differently today. Let us know if that felt better to have that as part of the webinar to get to those questions based off of your feedback. We'll make adjustments. But as usual, thank you again for joining, and we hope to see you again in our next webinar. Thank you very much.